I know you're at least aware of the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef. You can't be on the internet in 2024 and be familiar with music in any form. Even if you don't follow music, you may have searched for this just looking for a timeline of events, trying to understand why they're beefing, who all is involved, what's going on, what do the diss tracks mean. I'm going to do my best to somewhat briefly, break down the timeline, and at the end, we'll go over each individual song, and I'll give my thoughts on the beef. Although, to be fair, I mean, I am biased because this has been a slaughter for Kendrick Lamar and a nightmare fuel potential red flags going off everywhere for Aubrey Graham. Do I even dare say, hey neighbor on this one? My name is Sean. This might be a little bit longer than I'm anticipating, so do me a huge favor, like the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and take to the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the Drake versus Kendrick Lamar and everybody else that's involved beef. Whether you want to call it subliminals or trading blows, sneak dissing, that's what's been going on for the past decade plus with Aubrey and Kendrick, and now in 2024, it's broken wide open, but a lot of people who are maybe a little bit more out of the loop and are not familiar, they're like, didn't they do a song together, Poetic Justice? Yes, that was on Kendrick's 2012 album, a classic, Good Kid, Mad City.
Put it in the song, alright. I really hope you played it.
Since then, there's been some bitter back and forths. Will they, won't they, just straight up say something, call each other out by name? And after Pusha T's release of The Story of Adonis, where, of course, Drake was forced to reconcile with the fact that not only has he done blackface in the past, no matter the context, he also had a hidden son. And Kendrick is alleging that there is another child out there, an 11-year-old daughter, but we'll get to that later. Pusha T's flaming diss track dropped in 2018, shortly after the release of his excellent album Daytona. It dropped and revealed a lot of different things, and Drake was awfully quiet about that. In fact, Drake likes to kind of taunt his opponents and say, "Oh, Kendrick, we're waiting, why haven't you responded?" When he has, in fact, for the past 5 or 6 years, not responded directly to Pusha T, instead just acting like he was gonna embrace his son Adonis at some point, but it just so happened to be right after Pusha T called him out.
You are hiding a child, let that boy come home. Deadbeat motherfucker playing border patrol. Ooh!
We're gonna jump all the way to the future, pun intended, because on March 26, Metro Boomin and Future released the first in their installment of their We Don't Trust You albums, of which there's supposedly going to be 3. And the first of the trilogy featured a song that went #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100 called Like That. And on Kendrick Lamar's feature, in his featured guest verse, he goes after Drake big time.
Motherfuck the big 3, nigga, it's just big me, nigga, bum!
No more sneak dissing, because Kendrick went for the throat. There is blood in the water at this point, and once you let Kendrick have a taste of that flesh, of course he's going to want more. And Drake makes the mistake of responding, and there's some in-between stuff that we do need to talk about, because in there, J. Cole drops his 7-minute drill diss track where he talks about some other things, some other people, but also speaking directly to Kendrick Lamar, taking shots at his album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, basically saying that he fell off, which is ironic considering J. Cole now holds the crown for the biggest drop-off from the Hot 100 of all time, after he pulled 7-minute drill from streaming services, apologizing just 2 days after dropping the diss track from his album Might Delete Later, confirming its title to basically be true. He did delete it after the tracking week was over. It debuted at #6 on the Hot 100 and then fell off entirely the next week.
So what I want to say right here tonight is, in the midst of me doing that and in that shit, trying to find a little angle and downplay this nigga's fucking catalog and his greatness, I want to say right now tonight, how many people think Kendrick Lamar is one of the greatest motherfuckers to ever touch a fucking microphone? I just want to come up here and be like, publicly be like, bruh, that was the lamest, like, goofiest shit. And I say all that to say, it made me feel like 10 years ago when I was moving incorrectly.
And now it's looking like maybe that's the safest and smartest move he could have ever made. J. Cole's off somewhere just in a paradise vacation saying, thank God I didn't go after Kendrick, because if you thought there was blood in the water then, After Drake responded with push-ups and a little something called the tailor-made freestyle, where he uses AI vocals from Tupac and Snoop Dogg, those were leaked online. Leaked, probably by Drake, allegedly, on April 13th in their demo form, and then officially on April 19th alongside the tailor-made freestyle with push-ups.
You won't never take no chain off of us. How the fuck you big stepping with a size 7 man's on?
Drake primarily went after Kendrick Lamar on the tailor-made freestyle, but it is important to note that on push-ups, he was taking aim not only at K-Dot, but also at rapper Rick Ross, The Weeknd, who I'm sure most of you are very familiar with, whether you want to be or not, especially after his HBO show, shall we call it, last year.
My friend's a gynecologist. You don't see me sticking my finger in everybody, do you?
Drake went in on them and of course did something that a lot of people, including me, find to be extremely distasteful by putting out the Tupac AI, and the Tupac estate subsequently responded to that by saying, no, you can't do that. Take it down, which Drake subsequently did, deleting it from his social medias and other platforms. By some twist of fate, that marked the second rapper in 2 weeks to delete diss tracks that were against Kendrick Lamar, making K-Dot just seem even more powerful. Kung Fu Kenny powering up. And he takes his time with responding, something that Drake is memeing about, posting to his Instagram stories, basically taunting, posting stupid shit for his Zoomer audience to just easily digest and say, oh yeah, you got the bag, you got the crown, king. And Kendrick responds on April 30th with one of the most brutal dissections of human character that I've ever heard. That was until I heard the other diss tracks, but Euphoria drops on April 30th, which, get this, is allegedly the 11th birthday of the secret daughter that Drake is apparently harboring. Obviously, we don't know if this is true or not. Drake has denied it on his story, but then again, Drake has lied about so many things up to this point in time, including his little ab surgery, lipo, among other things. When he's out there teasing Rick Ross for using Ozempic, Kendrick has been playing 4D chess this entire time, proving that he's steps ahead of Drake's every thought, every move. He knows, he can predict the angles, as he says in Euphoria.
I calculate you, not as calculated. I can even predict your angle.
It's also important to mention that both sides are claiming that each tried to have the other's record taken down or like a cease and desist to block it from coming out. Drake allegedly struck first with that, apparently trying to have Like That from the Future record stricken down, not allowed for release. Obviously, that did not happen. It didn't go his way, and Drake throws a little bit of a baby boy tantrum, a meltdown, ensuring that Kendrick is going to go for the jugular.
Kendrick, we need ya, the West Coast savior. Engraved in your name in some hip-hop history.
Drake alleges that Kenny begged the Tupac estate to file that motion to have the tailor-made freestyle taken down. Taylor in the title referring to Taylor Swift. Kendrick Lamar has collaborated, like on the Bad Blood remix with Taylor Swift. But it's really kind of confusing to the extent that Drake seems to think that K-Dot is involved with Swift.
Remember when you thought I'd take a loss? Don't you remember you thought that I would need you?
Buckle up if you haven't already, because things are about to get even more insane. May 3rd, 2024 will go down in hip-hop as one of the craziest days ever. In fact, it may have resurrected a genre that for the past few years has been fading into irrelevance because of the stale manner. A lot of the trap rap artists that just haven't been stepping forward or thinking outside of the box. This could be an ignition switch that the industry needed. Obviously, both sides have something to lose and something to gain from all this, but it seems like Kendrick has put his heart on the line. I mean, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is literally a record that talks about accepting imperfections, admitting them, confessing to them, talking about these things, generational trauma, whereas Drake seems content to just regurgitate the same type of things over and over again with the joint album with 21 Savage, Her Loss, and For All the Dogs, and Certified Lover Boy. The morning of May 3rd, Kendrick Lamar drops on Instagram at 6:16 a.m. Pacific Coast time a track called 616 in LA, where he again speaks directly to Drake.
Have you ever thought that OVO is working for me? Fake bully, I hate bullies. You must be a terrible person.
Among other things, K-Dot calls out Drake for basically playing his race card to both sides, considering the fact that he's biracial, raised by a Jewish mother, an African-American father, and Kendrick kind of just talks about his disgust as he continues and follows up what he was talking about on Euphoria with saying, I don't like you saying the N-word, I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk, the way that you dress. On 616 in LA, it's also important to note that in the producers, we have Soundwave, of course, somebody who's worked with Kendrick for over a decade at this point, but also Jack Antonoff, known for working with Taylor Swift. Just having him on as a producer is just another smack in the face to Drake. Many fans and even haters are speculating that Kendrick dropped 616 in LA as a way of baiting or taunting Drake into responding, and Drake did exactly that with the track Family Matters, which first of all, keep Urkel's name out your fucking mouth, okay, Aubrey? But second of all, this is a song that maybe didn't go quite as hard with the production and everything, but I do feel that it was the perfect setup because it's like, okay, I'm holding back a little bit here, but then Drake responds, and Kendrick responds not once, but twice, at least as of recording. Who knows how many he's got up his sleeve. Reminder that everything is going down in like a 24 to 48 hour period. So much is happening so fast. 616 in LA comes out the morning of May 3rd. And that evening, Aubrey responds with Family Matters, obviously meant to mimic the style of the classic show. I grew up watching it, I'm sure many of you did too. And this is a song that's produced by Boy Wonder, Take Keith, and it's a song where Drake just kind of thinks that he's got a little bit more than he actually does. He goes in over this semi-hype beat that almost feels a little too generic for the situation, but like Euphoria, it's got beat switch-ups, and on the song like that, it is cool and worth noting that Kendrick talked about 3 blade switches, and then on Euphoria, he switches beats 3 different times. Coincidence? I think not. 4D chess.
Out here begging for attention, niggas say please. Always rapping like you about to get the slaves free.
But on Family Matters, Drake is basically saying, you've got a Christ complex, you're short. That's really the extent, the main takeaway. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's not the worst song ever. It's just the fact that it gets eviscerated by comparison to what comes next.
Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that man is your father. Let me be honest.
Throw everything you knew up to this point out the window, because May 3rd, right after midnight, maybe May 4th, Kendrick, 50 minutes after Family Matters drops another 6-minute song. Euphoria was 6.5. This is another one right here, back to back. I like that record. Meet the Grams comes out in direct response to Family Matters. And I personally think that there's gotta be a mole inside of Drake's cave, inside of his mansion somewhere, leaking information to Kendrick. Or maybe it's one of Drake's own parents that are leaking the info. Who knows? But he's got receipts. He's got Drake's prescriptions with names on them. You can see it right here in the artwork. The Alchemist is the producer of Meet the Grams, and this song addresses each of Drake's family members, like his close nuclear family, starting with his son Adonis. It is brutal. From there, he goes to Sandra and Dennis, Drake's parents, and then going to Drake directly, Dear Aubrey, at the end, claiming that, oh, I'm not a hater, I just fucking hate you. It's just absolutely insane. If you read through this and seriously digest the amount of double entendres, or as Drake wanted, the quintuple, the sextuplet entendres, the meaning is definitely going to fly over Drake's fans' heads. But will it fly over Aubrey's head? Probably not as much as he'd like to think. He's probably sitting there seething. Oh, to be a fly on the wall, just knowing that Drake hit post on Family Matters. And then 50 minutes later, you've got 6.5 minutes of a soul-eviscerating death march. This seriously feels like a funeral procession with the way the 4-note chiming beat goes. The Alchemist makes this thing just sound sinister, and Kendrick gets downright evil. And I have to say that I'm here for it.
And your homeboy needs subpoena. That predator moving flocks. That name gotta be registered and placed on neighborhood watch.
As if that wasn't enough, we get Not Like Us on the evening of May 4th, less than 24 hours after a 6.5-minute evisceration of character, we have Meet the Grams and then Not Like Us, produced by Soundwave and DJ Mustard, and we get that classic Mustard on the Beat ho said by Kendrick before he absolutely goes into banger mode, basically taking a victory lap on this track, knowing that he has done everything crisscross, up, down, left, right, checked all of the boxes, left no stones unturned, basically alienating Drake from the rest of his peers. We get a taste of it on Euphoria and 616 in LA, but starting with Meet the Grams and Not Like Us, Kendrick really starts to just throw every dart at the board. Bullseye, bullseye, bullseye. And what he's really going in on is some deep shit, and the allegations, if they turn out to be true, about Drake's sexual deviancy, the underage stuff, the minors, A minor. Oh my God, there's so many bars that just get visceral reactions. And Drake's simply don't have that. They're a little like, oh yeah, that was kind of clever. Oh yeah, I guess that was, yeah, okay, maybe you got him there. It's like, okay, but in wrestling, a back and forth match, it's all about who locks down the person. It's all about who gets the other to tap out. It doesn't matter if you got a few shots in the ring. This is something that's coming down to the table, and Kendrick is playing a full house of cards. Pun intended, because family matters. I love that Kendrick is going so hard for like women's rights the past few years, just really trying to change the narrative on some of the wrongs that he's felt that he's done. It's pretty clear that these two have different takes on what it means to be a man, and Drake's seems to be about objectification, about gambling, about just getting as much money and thinking that wealth controls everything so that he can spout it out to his little Adin Ross type influencers that think, oh my God, money, that's everything. I'm gonna go gamble on stake.com. Flip it over to Kendrick and he's literally putting like a sex offender registry on the map of your mansion in Toronto. That is just next level diabolical. I can't believe that he took it there, but he did. And he did it again with the prescriptions, the Ozempic. He teased Rick Ross for having an Ozempic thing. And then Kendrick's like, hey, Drake, you do that shit too. Drake might just be going back in the chair after this one because Aubrey Drake Graham has been eviscerated by Kendrick Lamar Duckworth. In case you haven't pieced it together by my commentary up to this point, it's pretty clear that I think Kendrick has won this and then some. He's parading around a dead corpse, a husk of a rapper that once was. Drake is somebody that relies so heavily on guest features, people like Sexy Red, Two Bad Bitches standing right there, and 21 Savage, other younger artists like Lil Baby, and Kendrick mocks this relentlessly, saying, hey, you play to the white culture when it's worked for you. That's how you got your big come up, obviously, with the early stuff like Thank Me Later and So Far Gone, Take Care. But he also caters to his own blackness when it's convenient for him, when he wants to act tough. And I have to agree with Kendrick. I like when you're with the melodies, Drake, not when you're trying to act like, you know, you're puffing up your fake abs.
I understand more than you'll never know.
I'm gonna wrap this up before I just melt away over here from the heat that I'm still feeling off of Kendrick's. I swear that I could feel it through the speakers, through the screen. It was just eviscerating. I keep using that word, but it's the best thing that comes to mind, and damn it, please, Drake, throw in the towel. Nobody really wants to hear you say much of anything anymore, except for your own dick riders in the OVO gang, which, unfortunately, there are millions of. But get back to me when you do a tally on how many of them are over the age of 21. Drake has had some disturbing behavior over the years. I definitely recommend that you guys look into it for yourself, but I'm going to call it there. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown, my recap of the entire beef, at least so far, but it seems to be like this might be the point where Drake says, I have no logical way that I can respond to this. In fact, he got on Instagram and he denies the fact that he's got a daughter, but he doesn't deny being a sexual predator, so that's concerning. If you haven't already and you enjoyed the video, drop a like. It helps me out a ton. Subscribe, turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on my future uploads. I've got tier lists, reviews, rankings, and new episodes of my Series 7 on Sunday coming out very soon. Check out some recent videos on screen, and I'll see you soon on ARTV.